Hi everyone, happy Wisdom Wednesday. Back at it again after a couple weeks, and it's a gorgeous day. And I had a couple of things I wanted to share, specific tips I wanted to share for Overwhelm. So I'm also going to talk a little bit about the astrology and what I'm feeling for this month, and now that we're in Gemini season here in June. So what I wanted to talk about is overwhelm, and I was feeling overwhelmed yesterday, especially. I was feeling very what I call heady, or like very. For those of you who follow the chakra system, I felt very kind of like intense in the crown area. I felt like a lot of my energy was all up in here in the mind center, and and very little was feeling grounded. And it was really hard for me to even get to that awareness of that place. It took a lot of being on my own, being in my own home without anyone here, and sitting still, getting into stillness and kind of finding out what's tuning into to what it is I was feeling. It was very difficult. I was having a lot of emotions rising up to the surface about my future, about what I want, my desires in life. I've been telling people that I've really been doing a lot of deep dive soul searching stuff. And that's just sort of the where I'm at in my life right now, and what I really want for myself, visions I want to create for myself, offerings I want to offer to humanity, to my community here in Guelph, and kind of how I want to align myself with these offerings, and also just visions for, not just even offerings, but like what I have as a vision for myself as a person. So no big deal, small stuff. But obviously very overwhelming and a lot to think about, and had a lot of emotions around that stuff. So I really had to get still. And one of the things that I notice, and I tell a lot of people this, is that as the as we switch into different signs. So for example, we're now in Gemini, we're switching from Taurus to Gemini. Taurus is an earth sign, so it's very grounded, and I often feel very connected to my whole body. It's very sensual, and I feel very connected to my feet. And going out in nature, you're seeing everything bloom, and it's a very, for me, I find a very easy kind of portal, so to speak, to connect into. I can walk into nature and I feel a lot. I said in my last post, like, I felt nature speaking to me almost. So lovely energy. And then we moved into Gemini. And Gemini, I find for me, is a very heady energy. So it's very intellectual. Gemini is beautiful at communicating. It's this the element associated with Gemini is wind, and is air. So often it's a very, for me, I find it a very fast moving energy, very quick as wind can be. And so often what I find is like thoughts are moving very quickly. It's a very creative sign. And for me, I really have to work when I'm in Gemini season based on the signs I already have in my chart. I have to really work on grounding because I can get very overwhelmed in my creative thoughts or in my thoughts in general. And so what I did is I got still and I got silent, and I picked up my journal and I just started free writing. It was hard. It was very, very hard to even journal, to even vocalize. I find vocalizing can be very hard in any of these air signs, like Libra, like Gemini, like Aquarius. I think the moon was in Aquarius yesterday. So I think there might have been some energy there that I was feeling. This double air sign was getting me kind of very caught up in my head. So the awareness of that was really helpful on its own. Sitting in silence was also very helpful. Journaling and free writing was so helpful. And then there happened to be a rainstorm, so really connecting with the element of water and watching the storm kind of roll through. And then it was really amazing because the sun kind of peeked through, and started shining on all the raindrops on my window. And I had posted something on Instagram yesterday about this, about how um at how, so there was like rainbows reflecting in each little drop. It was really, really quite powerful. And so what I was doing yesterday, beginning of day and end of day, was sitting on my balcony and just sitting and being with nature and consciously making that consciously making that choice to observe nature in its element, without thinking about what I was looking at. So often we can go into nature and say, oh, look at that, and that's so beautiful, and making judgments, positive judgments about what we're seeing. But I was consciously just choosing to almost let nature come to me. So letting nature give its message to me. And basically, what I was seeing is like squirrels, and I even saw a bunny, a rabbit, and birds, and they're all in their own world. And they almost like have no concern for me. They're just doing their own thing. And nature has this incredible way of just flowing and doing its own thing. And I think that's what can be really grounding for us, is that we can watch this kind of neutral environment around us that has its own flow, and has its own rhythm to it. And it kind of pulls us out of our overwhelm. And so I really recommend, if you ever get into overwhelm, and maybe you feel that yourself when Gemini season approaches, to really find yourself in nature, whether it's going out into your outdoor space, if you have one, a balcony, a backyard, a trail, a park, even just walking on sidewalk, grounding into your feet, and really, again, paying attention to your feet as much as you can and finding the felt sense of that. So, what you're feeling. Are you feeling hardness? Are you feeling your foot moving, and connecting with earth, and the sensors in your feet connecting? Whatever it is you're feeling, connect with those words. That's really important. So, journaling, nature, connecting with the feet, music. So, for me, what really, really helps me when I'm super overwhelmed, I just, yesterday just came to me. There's one particular artist that I'm going to recommend is Trevor Hall. Trevor Hall's music is incredibly grounding and very soothing and very healing. I personally think it's because the man spent so many years in ashrams, and studying yoga, and being a yogi himself, and being a very devotional person, that it really comes through his music. So his music is not classic chanting or anything, but the often what comes through is a lot of his music is very repetitive, and a lot of his lines are very repetitive in the music, and I don't know music lingo, but very, very soothing music. Might not resonate with you, resonates with me. I know he resonates with a lot of people, his music, and I find it very, very grounding. So I found, with the combination of the writing, observing nature, having his music play, really, really helped me to come back and reoccupy my body when I was kind of outside of my body, which can often happen with overwhelm, is often just like looping thoughts or getting caught in a thought stream. And I find when we can find ways and practices of reoccupying our body and getting back into kind of our reality,